Is this you?
Oh, Woods, I suck at editing. I can't edit any walls. Woods, I'm also so bad at building, I can barely even move. And Woods, my aim sucks.
Bruh.
Well, worry no more, as I flew all the way to space and back just for this video to get tips on building, editing. Whoa, look at it go. Oh yeah, and aiming, baby. Woohoo! From the Fortnite aliens themselves. Oh yeah, they exist. And they've got huge foreheads. But don't worry, I'm going to show you those exact tips in the video. But quickly, boys, drop a like. You don't understand, it helps so much with the algorithm. And shout out to this guy on screen for subscribing. If you want to get a shout out just like him and appear in a video, then just subscribe with notifications on, and sometimes you pop up in a video. So who knows, you may get lucky, so try it out and subscribe with noties on, boys. Also, shout out to MacyXX52. He actually won the shout out from last video. And to actually win a shout out, all you have to do is comment 120k down below the most times. So just comment it a few times and I guarantee you will win. Alright, but let's get it, boys. Let's go jump into the first set of tips, which is going to be aiming. Alrighty, boys, so for the first tip of improving aiming, I want you guys to hop in creative. Now, it's all going to come from practice. So what I want you to do when you come to creative, I want you to go ahead and look around for these portals called more practice games. Then you want to go ahead and jump straight into the practice game section, and you'll find yourself with a bunch of different practice games. They're all pretty useless, but there is actually one that's super good for aiming and improving it. This is how in all my montages I always hit 200 pumps, because I always practice in this. Now, what is it? You want to look for the most popular section over here, and you want to look for one of these. One of them will call BHE 1v1 build fights. You're going to go straight into it, and now you may have heard of it, but you don't know the secret tip that I'm about to tell you to actually go ahead and increase your chances of hitting 200 pumps. So what this is going to do is basically a flat island with around 10 players, super condensed. Now, when it comes to training rain, most people just hop into games and play, but it's super useless, and that's why I tell you guys to actually play this super condensed map. Now, why would I do that, Woods? Well, because you're getting into a new gunfight literally every 5 seconds. As you see, you all load in just like this. You're immediately going to run for the golden pump, and you do not want to pick up anything other than the golden pump. Reason being is because we're training our aim to hit more 200 pumps. Now, I want you guys just to go ahead and go for headshots in this mode. If you die, that's completely cool, because the chances of hitting a headshot straight away are quite low. And as you can see, just something like that can simply practice your aim. Now, it's going to be super frustrating, so that's why we should move on to our second tip fairly shortly, as I find this very boring, but the second tip isn't. And it's actually really fun to train your aim with. But yeah, just make a note of all the 200 pumps you hit, keep a tally of them, and I want you guys to practice every morning when you get on. Just try and hit around 10 before you play an arena game. And by hitting 10 200 pumps in this thing before you leave will improve your aim, definitely. But let's move on to tip number 2. Right, now this next tip is super quick before we get into actually editing tips. So this next tip, all it is box fight duos. Alright, so this is the last aiming tip I have for you guys. We're going to keep it short and concise before we move on to building tips. So stick around if you want to get better at building. But by playing in box fights, it's super intense, super impact, and you're always under pressure. So that's going to train your aim under pressure, but that's what we have tips for aiming. So let's hop straight into the building tips, boys. Alright, bet. So we're moving into the next section now for tip number 3. This is going to be all about building, so let's get straight into it. So now, building is quite a difficult topic because honestly, it comes to naturally, which is why you need to play natural game mode, such as the finest realist is on screen right now. You can put in this code in creative. What it's going to do is match you against opponents, but in real scenarios, just like you're in a normal game. But the reason this is so effective is because you would have to play a normal game, wait 5 to 10 minutes before you can get into an actual will battle. As you see, I have to try and regain high ground off this dude, so I'm having to use a lot of building. And then after you're done building, then you can get a kill. So the reason why these are so good is because the best way all the pros practice for building is just by playing normal games and getting into big build fights in mid-game. But this is going to save you the time of farming up mats at the start of your games, get you straight into the action so you can immediately start building in practice. It's all about high ground also, so that means you have to go ahead and crank many high ground retakes. As you can see, I have to use many high ground retakes so you can learn if you just search up on YouTube. So yeah, you have hella mats in this game mode, so just overbuild like hell and then go ahead and practice your builds. But yeah, honestly, it's great fun, and I think we should jump straight into the next tip for building. Alrighty, so for the second tip for building, I've been playing a lot of Zone Wars recently. And now I know Zone Wars, you know what that is, but do you know what to do in Zone Wars to actually make your building faster? Well, let's find out. So in this, you literally get max mats, and there's a moving zone, so you need to rotate. Now, what I want you guys to do is take advantage of movement rotations. What is movement rotations? Well, you want to learn things like this, as advanced tunneling, just like this, is super good for Zone Wars. And it will actually apply into a real game, so you guys need to try and learn things like that. And overall, getting better to build faster under pressure, because there's so many people in the Zone Wars map. Oh, do you know that you're gonna run from me, boy? And like I said, it teaches you how to build under pressure just like that. I was getting sprayed by multiple angles, and now I know how to actually build under pressure. And so can you. But the question is, can you edit fast under pressure? Well, that's exactly why we need this next tip coming up. Oh my god, get destroyed. And you get the double like that. But let's move on to some editing tips, boys. Alrighty, so these editing tips are pretty standard and they're pretty simple. A lot of them are things that you can just go ahead and apply in your settings that will actually double your editing speed. Also, shout out to Psycho Strom. If you're still watching, then make sure you subscribe so you can get a shout out just like Psycho and be featured in a video. So how I've learned to edit like this over a few months, honestly was very easy. One of the first things I want to talk about is playing on a really standard and basic island creative. Now I know you need to edit fast in public matches, but the whole thing is you need to actually be able to practice first in a good environment so that you can go ahead and actually perform well in public matches. So first tip being, you need to go ahead and get yourself a really empty creative island that literally has nothing on it than maybe a few trees. And if that, you don't really want even to have some trees, because a lot of my fans play on console and you struggle with input delay and FPS. This will severely help you with your input delay and FPS, allowing you to edit faster just like me, as you can see. Next thing you need to understand is actually matching up your input delay with your edit speed. Now everyone has a very slightly different input delay, therefore when it comes to editing you need to know by the time you click a button on your controller and then selecting the button how fast it goes through. So you guys need to sit in creative and go ahead and test out this thing, which is editing and then selecting, editing, selecting, and then slowly getting faster with it, and then you slowly start to get more comfortable with your input delay. Then you understand how fast your input delay is, and then you can match your fingers to this speed, and then all you want to do is slowly get faster and faster until you reach this point where you're actually just spamming it and you're not editing. When you get to this point, all you want to do is go slightly slower than that, and then you should have your maximum editing speed. It might look something like this. You guys might not be there originally, but just give it some time and I guarantee you will eventually meet it. Next thing is just when it comes to editing, doing simple things just like this. I'm sure you guys may not know of this, but when you go ahead and flip a stair just like so, it takes quite a long time. So what a lot of the pros do is you can actually go from here to the side. So if you see there, I can actually go to the side. So look, if I go from here to this side bit here, it's only half the distance and it still edits it backwards. So rather than editing it all the way back and flipping it, you can actually go ahead and flip it to the side, which will go ahead and split your editing speed for things like that, and it will get you editing faster. Next up, when editing things like this, you guys already should know, if you're going for something like a triple edit, just like so, to make that way more successful, what you guys should be doing is keeping out your map the whole time, rather than switching between your pickaxe each time. It may look a bit fancier if you switch between your pickaxe and whatnot, but to have a higher success rate, honestly, just go ahead and keep your map out, go ahead and edit, and then place the wall immediately and edit that too. And you're all good to go. Whereas instead, if I go ahead and do it all single and get my pickaxe in between, it gives me a bit more of a delay and I end up running into the wall. You guys might not be looking to do anything as complicated as a triple wall edit, but it still applies to a lot of the other theories if you guys are going to use it. And now, one of the last tips we're going to be moving on to is something I like to suggest to you guys is I have a bit of a routine every time I get on. I like to go ahead and do 2 90s, 2 of these edits like that, and then when I get to this point, flip the stair over, go through here, and then go ahead and go left, right, and then do this complex edit at the end. Now, what that does is starts out by doing something really simple, which is just 2 90s, gets into something a little bit more complex, which is just this double edit like this, jump out to the side, edit, come up here, and then do the ramp flip, which is slightly more complex. And then by the time here, towards the end of this retake, I then go ahead and do something really complicated, which is this, which I was telling you guys about earlier. So essentially what I'm telling you guys is to have a bit of a routine when you get on in the mornings, is to start out really basic in your retake, you practice, and then towards the end of it, it gets really complicated so that by the time you get to that part, you're nice and warmed up and you're ready to perform it, and you should land it every time. So yeah, that's for the final tip, guys, is just have yourself some sort of a retake that you practice every time you get on in the mornings, and I guarantee you'll get it smooth, and then you can apply it to your public games and get better at editing overall. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much been it. Remember to drop a like for the YouTube algorithm, it helps so much. Comment 120k down below as you might get shout out, as the guy who actually won last time only commented 6 times, so you have a pretty good chance. And make sure to subscribe so you get featured in a video just like today. There was a few people featured. Other than that, guys, I guess click a video on screen, and I'll see you all in that next video. Peace out.